Hello, everyone. We're just going to wait another few seconds here as people from the waiting room are joining us. Thanks so much for being here today. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Strike Up Connects, strategic social media, aligning content with your marketing goals. My name is Heather Cannings, and I am the program lead for Strike Up Canada. We'd like to begin today by acknowledging that we are gathered virtually from many places, but I'd like to recognize that I'm hosting this session from Cobourg, Ontario. We respectfully acknowledge that we're located in the traditional and treaty territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa Nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations. We are grateful for the opportunity to live, work, and gather on these lands and to learn from the Indigenous peoples whose knowledge and presence continues to shape this land. So Strike Up Connects is our free webinar series offered throughout the year to bring Canada's women entrepreneurship community together with tools, strategies, and conversations designed to support business growth and resilience. If you've missed any of our past sessions, you can catch the replay on our website at strikeup.ca. So a quick housekeeping note. So this session is being recorded and will be shared with all of the registrants after the event and will be made available at strikeup.ca later today. So if you're new to Strike Up, welcome. And if you're a returning attendee, we're so glad to have you back. Today's session is all about turning social media into a strategic asset for your business, something that drives results and not just a chore on your to-do list. So whether you're launching, growing, or refining your brand, we know this session will offer insights for you to take action on immediately. So we're so thrilled to welcome Sarah Carmichael. So she is a marketing strategist, a founder and CEO of Bees and Honey Creative. So Sarah has helped growth stage companies across tech, energy, and creative industries launch brands, raise capital, and connect with audiences in meaningful ways. She's also the Calgary ambassador for the Women Entrepreneurship Day organization, which speaks volumes about her commitment to helping women founders grow with confidence. So after the presentation, we will have a live Q&A. So feel free to submit your questions in the chat throughout the session or save them to ask directly at the end. So with that, please join me in welcoming Sarah Carmichael. So over to you, Sarah.
Great. Thank you so much for having me, Heather, and everyone at Strike Up. I'm such an honor to be asked to do this. So thank you for having me. And thank you everyone who joined. I'm super excited to talk about my favorite thing with you today, which is social media. And yeah, we're going to get going here. So I'm going to share my screen. And here we go. There we go. All right. So, again, we are going to be looking at strategic social media today, aligning content with your marketing goals. I come from a background of being the only marketing person in my tech company. So I started my career at a startup tech company, and I was the only marketing person. And so I just from a show of hands, maybe in the chat, maybe you can just weigh in whether you're the one person in your organization or if you were responsible for all of your marketing. Would love to see who's here, I put the meeting chat in the middle of the conversation. So yeah, I would love to see who's here. Yes, I'm the only one, just me. Yeah. Okay, I love it. Thank you for weighing in. Oh, and good. Founder personal brands. Fantastic. Thank you for sharing with me, and I'll be trying to chime in with you guys and chat with you throughout this presentation. So the next 45 minutes, I hope are going to be game changing for you. We're going to talk about why social media matters to your business, how to build a strategic foundation, the content development process, and we're going to get a little hands-on. We're also going to talk about measuring success and adapting. That's huge in social media because it is always changing. You guys probably know that already. So, why social media matters. So, social media isn't just about posting those updates or running ads. It's a powerful tool for storytelling, customer service, community building, and expressing personality and value. So, that's something that we really need to think about. I think a lot of the times when I work with a company, we sit down and they go, I want to sell more sell more to people. I want people to know about my brand so that I can sell more. And that's a great goal to have, but sometimes these other things are overlooked. So I think that we all come from that uh pre-social media. Maybe I should speak for myself. I come from a pre-social media world where you would see the ads, those and that evolved from 1950s radio advertisements where people would be like, hello, buy pancakes. And so that's sometimes what we think about when we think about how to get in front of people. And so I just wanted to kind of expand our mindsets, wrap our brains around storytelling, and then that customer service the customer service viewpoint, and then community building. This is a huge place to build community, especially for small brands. If you're I'm looking at the chat as well. If you're running your own business, if you've got a startup, um, if it's just you and your marketing department, then you have to start wrapping people around you and community building. And this is a great tool to do that. And then I love this part, the expressing personality and values. Um, you know, a lot of the time, this is where we get, I think, a little nervous to stand out. And I think that this is such a great opportunity for us to showcase how we are different, not only just ourselves, but our company, what makes our company different. And that can be the thing that really takes your company to the next level. All right. Again, just hammering home why social media is important. And I think all of you are here because you know it's important, but just a couple stats. So the projected number of global social media users by 2027 is supposed to be 6 billion people. So sometimes when we think about social media, we think about, oh, well, my friends might be on social media, but my customers aren't on social media. Well, I'm trying to disprove that for you. And they may not be on Instagram, they may not be on Facebook, but maybe they're on LinkedIn. Maybe they're on Reddit. Maybe they're on YouTube. It's finding where they're hanging out because 6 billion of us are on social media. 327 million people are expected to be social media users in the US in 2027. And the average time daily spent on social media per person is 151 minutes. I know that seems like maybe it seems like a small number, maybe it seems like a big number. I'm always surprised when my phone gives me the usage of how long I've been on my phone every day. And so this is a captive audience. You have people there and they're engaging in social media all the time when they might not want to be working, but really they all are also probably working. They're probably seeing your content. Um, Almost 5 billion people are current global social media users. So we're almost at that 6. And then in the United States, so, I always like to give the US stats because they're a big market and they're similar to us. Um, but we've got 39 million people in Canada, which is about the size of California. So you can multiply that by, 50 states and you get that big number across the US. 59% of the global social network um, is the penetration rate. So that's how many people, 59% of your customers are probably on social media, and 74% of them are in North America. So the world is on social. Your target market and your competitors are most certainly there too. So it's a great opportunity to engage, connect, and grow. So this is one of the things that I like to think about sometimes when I have a hard time posting on social media is who would you rather pick? And it's not necessarily just that, oh, I didn't show up on social media this week, this month, this day. Um, it may not mean that you didn't get that piece of information out or that thing that you're thinking about or that promo out today. But ultimately, this creates opportunities for speaking engagements. It creates opportunities for partnerships. Think about a brand that you would want to partner with, that dream brand, and think about the brand that they would want to partner with. They most likely want to partner with somebody who is active on social media. So who would you pick? The visible brand on social media that consistently posts and engages with their community, or a less visible brand that is equally credible and talented, but rarely posts? So most of us aren't Adele. We can't take a five-year break and come back strong. um, so when does visibility give you the advantage? So I just mentioned a few of these. So speaking engagements, attracting clients or customers, that's one of the biggest ones that we think of, but those partnership opportunities are really important. Also media features or PR opportunities. So journalists, bloggers, they want to feature brands that are easy to find online, that are active online. Building a loyal community, that we talked about that community piece a little bit in the beginning, um, which creates that support for your business, but also the advocates for your business. It gives them a platform to spread your message, but also investors. Maybe that's somewhere that you want to go eventually. And investors are looking for engaged, well regarded brands and also recruiting talent. This is a big part of not only LinkedIn, but other pieces of your brand as well. I posted a reel just yesterday and I got a message from somebody I haven't talked to in 10, 15 years. And they're like, hey, I really want to know more about your business. I really think that we could do some cool things together. Would you have a coffee with me? And so, that social media and showing up and telling people what you're about can be the difference in whether somebody wants to work for you or someone else. So the components of a social media strategy, we're going to go through this. To give you a little bit of background, the way that I think about strategy is from, I have an MBA. So I took that strategic thinking of how to run a corporation and I put that into social media terms. So this is where my thought process goes when I think about social media strategy. But we'll go through that together. I'm just going to quickly, um, oh, I just am looking at our chat here. Every time I see my own daily phone use stats, yes, everyone, we're all on social media. It all sucks us in. Okay, so the building blocks of a social media strategy. The first thing that you want to do when you're thinking about your social media strategy is setting a clear objective. So we talked about this a little bit before. A lot of people that come to me and want to work with my company go, I I want people to know my brand and I want to sell more. Okay, sure. Increasing brand awareness, big goal. Drive sales, big goal for sure. Enhance customer engagement, great, amazing. But we need to think about how are we going to do that? And how are we going to engage those people? How do we go from them not knowing about us at all to knowing about us and putting them into our sales process? Um, the other thing we have to think about is our sales cycle. So where does social media fit in? Sometimes social media is that initial thing where somebody goes, oh, cool, I now know about them. I know I'm learning about their brand and then I'm driving to the website. But a lot of the times, if you're active in events and networking and out there in the community, people are looking at maybe they connect with you on LinkedIn or something like that, and that drives them to learn about your business. So again, it's that social media to website strategy, but sometimes, if you give them your piece of paper, you give them your sorry, not your piece of paper, your business card. If you give them your business card and then they look up your website to figure out whether you're a real company, they'll take a look at your social media. And this happens to me a lot, is that people will look at my business and they'll go to my website and then they'll look at my testimonials and they'll go, okay, cool. This company is a real company. And then they'll go to social media and see if who I know and how I'm connected. Um, so yes. And then we've got that SMART goal. So we've got those, everything comes down to what do we want to accomplish over a certain period of time. All right, coming back. Understanding, this is our first building block, understanding your target audience. And we're going to spend more time on this as well. But we need to first understand who we're talking to. Sometimes we're talking to more groups, but we need to understand how we're talking to each group. And when we create our content, which group that is talking to. So, uh, for example, I worked for a investment firm, and they had investors from the government. And so, but we also were trying to build our brand and we were trying to get people into our portfolio. And so we needed to talk to the government and say, hey, look at what all the good things we're doing. And we're out here, using the money that you're giving us for good. But then we were also talking to these startups and founders and saying, hey, we've got money to spend and this is who we work with and we think we could work with you and we think we can help grow your business. So they're completely different audiences. So you need to think about who your target audiences are and what they care about and where they spend their time online. So, for Bees and Honey and a lot of this presentation, I'll chat about I like to look at it from the view of Instagram because I feel like Instagram kind of has all the things from a social media perspective. They have video content, they have carousel content, they have static posts, they have the stories, they've got threads, they've got it all. So all the things that you want to do in building content, you can usually put most of it on Instagram. So I'll talk about it from an Instagram strategy, but a lot of that content can be used for LinkedIn. It can be used obviously for Facebook. It can be used for YouTube. Um, it can be used for TikTok. So, TikTok is more of that um, video platform. And, you know, I'm thinking about other platforms. So threads, you might just take your caption. So I feel like Instagram is one of the platforms that makes you consider all of the things that you can do. And then it's what I like to do is just piece that out to the other appropriate platforms if I have the same audience on those platforms. If I don't have the same audience, you have to take a different approach. But knowing that my Instagram audience is probably closer to people my own age, people um, who are my friends and family that want to support my business and want to be able to share my content to people that they know that maybe would become clients. That is something that's a different approach than LinkedIn, where LinkedIn is my current customers, my current more professional contacts. With those guys, I can be more technical versus Instagram, I can be more silly and personable. So think about your think about every platform where your target audience is hanging out and what they care about and who you are to them. So, for example, on LinkedIn, I am the person that goes to conferences and learns about AI and learns about technology and innovation and how I'm helping technology founders there or businesses there and showing how we're pushing people forward there. But on Instagram, that can be more of the personality of the business, a little bit more about the team and the fun that we're having but then also showcasing that show don't tell piece. So how are how are you helping people? Those type of things. So creating content that meets your target audience's needs is one of the biggest building blocks here that we'll talk about. Um, The next one is, so we talked about choosing the right platform. So you need to align that with your goals. Um, you need to be where your target audience is most active. We work with a lot of brands who want to be on Instagram. They like Instagram, they like to hang out on Instagram, but really they're B2B businesses and their customers are on LinkedIn. So we're pushing them to create content that is um, showing leadership in their field, showing their face, connecting with other people, and pushing them into that LinkedIn side of things. And a note here is that it's better to excel on a few platforms rather than spread yourself too thin. I would love to know actually in the chat where you guys are hanging out right now. Where are you on social media? Where is your business actually on social media? If you can weigh in. Oh, here we go. LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. Great. Great. Okay. YouTube. Yay. Cool. Instagram mainly, a little Facebook. Great. Great. Thank you. Fantastic. Um, okay, I think we're talking all the same things. Um, one of the other places that you can put your content, so um, if we're thinking about reels, that obviously can go to you can easily translate that from Instagram or from TikTok to Instagram. Um, you can use the same similar content. LinkedIn is starting to reward a lot of video. So if you're getting in front of the camera and doing those talking head videos, LinkedIn is rewarding that, especially if you're showing up with authority on your topic. Um, you can also use that on YouTube. And one of the things I would say that is important on YouTube is that YouTube is showing up when you search different companies or questions. When you search different questions, YouTube is populating those questions into Google search results. So sometimes you'll see, now we're seeing the AI overview. So that's a whole nother thing. But now it's starting to be AI overview, and then they'll show video content, and then they'll show all the other content as well. So I would recommend, if you're doing a video, also think about it I sometimes discredit LinkedIn, not discredit, but I used to think about it as like, this is where I put my videos and then I link it somewhere else on my website, or I'll use that link on other platforms. But it is also a social media platform, and there are a lot of people on YouTube. A lot of males on YouTube if you have a male audience. Um, another building block. So crafting your content strategy. So planning is very important. Tone and style is important, and post frequency is important. So you really ultimately want to engage with your audience and encourage them to interact with your brand. When I think about crafting the content strategy, I think about a couple things. I think about, what is the point of this platform? What does this platform want from me? So, for example, on Instagram, they were prioritizing at one point in time number of video plays. So when they first started bringing in reels, so they're competing with TikTok, they brought in reels, and I think you might have seen those reels where it looks like it's the same thing going on and you don't realize how long you've watched it for. But it's the same 5 to 7 second video looping, looping, looping. And the person's like, check out below the caption. So then you would go to the caption and you read the caption. The point of those was because Instagram was rewarding videos that were being watched and watched and watched and watched. So people were creating those looping videos, 5 to 7 seconds long. that people didn't really know were looping. And then they would drive people to the content. So then you're reading that, and that would make you stay on that video longer. And that was being prioritized. But that got really boring um, very fast for people because they're like, I hate these looping videos and I don't really want to, it's not really entertaining. So then Instagram changed their algorithm. Now they're starting to reward watch time. So if you have a longer video and you keep 75%, 80%, 90% of that video or all the way through, they're rewarding those videos because they're seeing that that is, if you can keep people to the end, it's interesting content. So we're in a era of interest media. So how do you know which, and great question here. We've got a question. How do you know which platform rewards and looks for? So I follow, so for example, Instagram, if you follow Instagram, there's an Instagram creators account on Instagram. They will give you updates. So that's almost like their Instagram newsletter. And so they'll give you updates on what is working well. They'll say, hey, try this. Oh, can I quantify longer content on IG? How long? Okay, so longer content on IG, good question because we have been moving away from that 7-second content. Um, I think ultimately they're looking, good question. I would have to look at the stats, but I would say like 30 seconds. You also have to think about people's attention time. So if you can keep people for 2 minutes, they'll probably reward you for 2 minutes. But I wouldn't create a 2-minute video to create a 2-minute video just for the sake of that, because the reality is that people have 4-second attention spans. So here's another tip. When you're creating content, you almost need to, if you're doing video content, you want to change up what's going on in that video almost every 2 seconds. So because people get bored. So for example, you'll see somebody, take a look at these videos that you watch. Sometimes if it's a talking head video, what's really popular right now is talking head video, captions going across. But almost every few seconds, there's going to be a different image, a different video. Oh, back to talking head. Now there's another stock video. Now talking head, stock video, talking head. And so that changes it up so that people are listening to it, but they're also getting a visual, something interesting to watch so they don't just flick by. Because if it's just talking head for 2 minutes, the reality is that you're not going to watch it. So much more editing. Yes, Melissa, I agree with you. That's why, yeah, there's a lot of editing these days. Um, so, oh yes, and I'm seeing someone say there's on TikTok, people will say, please stay for 1 minute so my family can get paid for this post. And now on other platforms. So there is a payment side of things that is more in the US than Canada. We haven't been seeing that in Canada as much. So yes, on TikTok, for example, TikTok has always rewarded watch time. So yeah, they'll try and keep you for that 1 minute. And then if you get over that 1 minute, then they'll say, oh, this is interesting content. And they'll promote it. Okay, planning. Let's get back to planning. So when you're crafting your content strategy, planning is very important because you want to look at content pillars. Let me just make sure that I'm on track for content pillars. Yes, good. Okay. We'll talk about content pillars in a minute. But planning is important. Tone and style. One of the things that I've started to do is I've started to analyze tone and style of different brands that I like. What is the style of this brand? What is the tone? So that I can create kind of a persona for each social media account. I was going to cue this up and I don't have it with me today. Maybe I can find it for you. Okay, I'll just tell you the story. So Wendy's had a game-changing post. I don't know what year it was, But ultimately, the person said, so somebody tweeted to them. Um, it was a tweet back then, it wasn't X. So they tweeted to them, uh, they had promoted something fresh, never frozen. So that's a Wendy's value prop that they say, fresh, never frozen burgers. This person commented, they said, "You're not fooling anyone, Wendy's. You have frozen burgers and we know it." Like they really kind of laid into them. And the person, and it was the social media person that was on that day said, "How do you?" They said, "No, we don't have frozen burgers." I'm paraphrasing. It was much more clever than this. "We don't have frozen burgers. Remember, there's something else you can do to um keep meat cool." Ultimately saying like, "We put them in the fridge." And then this person says like, "What are you doing? Setting raw meat in room temperature across the country?" Something like this. And, and and I think the person responded pretty sassy. They said, you know, "Don't be mad that you forgot that a refrigerator existed for just a moment," or something like that. And it was very sassy. And it was something that we had never seen from a corporation before. And this sassy comment actually blew up. Saturday Night Live was talking about it. There was other influencers, celebrities that this comment went viral for this. Like, oh my goodness, how dare Wendy's be sassy? But what's amazing is now you probably know a lot of those brands now are actually having these really sassy kind of they entertaining brands on social media. So now Wendy's, I think Chipotle has been really funny lately. There's a lot of different ones where they're starting to actually kind of banter with each other, and it's so good. So what I wanted to say about that was that number one, it gets attention. It's interesting. I think that was a risk for sure. It wasn't their social media strategy, but it did pan out for them. And now their social media strategy has been like, "Oh, wow, that worked out for us. Let's keep doing this." And their sales catapulted. So you can actually see from when that comment happened to now they've had way higher sales, and they attribute it to their social media strategy and the tone of their posts. Post frequency, I don't think I need to tell you guys that you should post frequently. Um, I know that that's a lot of our challenges. So, um, getting, you can do all these things, you can think about all these things. Sometimes you just have to show up. So, I just posted something the other day. It doesn't have to be perfect. People just want to hear from you. All right. And sometimes perfect is boring. So, yes. So content pillars. This is how I really like to plan things for the brands that I work with. Um, First off, your content pillars is your theme or topics that act as a foundation for your content strategy. I will kind of give you some examples of this later. Um, but they give you a structured approach. It's just a really good way to go, okay, what am I talking about this month? What am I talking about today? And so I'll rotate between 3 to 5 pillars. So 3 to 5 pillars. Those might be themes. It might be, or it might be ways that I'm just going to check my next slide. Ah, where are they? I'll go back. Anyways, there's connection and community that might be a pillar for you. So it comes down to your goal. So if you go, okay, my goal is brand awareness um and creating community, then what I'm going to do in my social media is I want to create new, fresh content to get new, fresh eyes on it. I'm going to use platforms that are going to push my content out to people that don't follow me. Um, so for example, on Instagram, that would be Reels. They will push your content, your Reels to people that don't know who you are. They've started pushing carousels. Carousels are really important as well. They're great for information. Um, Carousels are the ones where it's a um, almost like an album. So it's here's a topic, you scroll through, here's something that you can learn about that topic, scroll through, here's a second point, scroll, third point, scroll, maybe a call to action at the end. Um, People really they are promoting carousels more and more and more now. They might push those to your people who don't follow you, but reels are still number one for non-follower content on eyeballs on your things. Same with TikTok. It's all about interest. What is interesting to people and who are they're trying to get stuff to people that are interested in what you're talking about. Um, so content pillar. It might be if we're thinking about um connection and community, or so that might be brand awareness. So brand awareness, we might be like, okay, we want to be entertaining. So I'll show you an example coming up here, which is about being like Old Spice. So you remember Old Spice commercials, and he'd be like, I'm on a horse. Um, Everybody would talk about that and it was entertaining. So there's people who have entertaining content pillars, but that's not going to sell your stuff if that's part of your or maybe it will, but if it's part of your social media strategy, you probably need the entertainment stuff that people are like, "Oh, cool," and sharing with their friends, but then you've got something else supplementary to that that is like, here's what we do. Here's the new thing. Here's an event I'm promoting. Here's our newest promotion. You're going to have to pair it with another pillar for that goal. So you have to, within your goal, you go, okay, here's my goal. How am I going to get there? And you go, here's a content pillar for I need to build trust with my audience. I need to connect with my audience and I need to entertain my audience. And then I need to get leads. So you might have, those might be 4 pillars, and you decide how you're going to fill your calendar with those things. And I like to rotate. So I'll go, here's my 5 things. I'm going to do 3 to 5 posts per week. And I go through them and I do a post for each of those content pillars. It just creates a structured approach and it makes it less spaghetti against the wall. Spaghetti against the wall, just throwing things out there and seeing what happens is okay. It just isn't a strategy. So that can be part of your strategy. You can pilot things and go, ha, I'm going to throw something against the wall, see if it sticks. Look at the analytics and decide whether it's working for you or not. And then put it into your content pillars. All right. So I think we chatted about this already. Nike has an inspirational content pillar. So if we think about Nike, we think about just do it. How do we get there? We got it from their content. So they have an inspirational content pillar, a motivational content pillar, lifestyle. They're going to put Nike logos all throughout this, and culture. They're going to do all of those things and they're going to use them in by doing emotional storytelling, creating that narrative of triumph, fostering that community and inspiration, and then positioning beyond just shoes or clothing. It's not like when you think about Nike, you think about just do it. You may not think about their product line and their product suite, but I'll tell you, if we look at it, they're definitely in there. This is a good, I wanted to pull this up. Actually, I wonder if I can just go here. Yes, I did it right. So this is Faith Kipyoung. So she is running, well, she's trying to break a record for a 4-minute mile. So no woman has ever broken the record of the 4-minute mile. So they did this amazing social post that really makes you go like, oh, I want I want her to do it. And and so it's really cool to see people cheering her on. It's so much more than Nike. You know, we don't see, is she wearing Nike shoes? Probably. Is she wearing a Nike shirt? She is. But when you walk into a sport check, you're gonna look at Nike and go, ah, I know that company, and maybe I can run a 4-minute mile. Just kidding. Can't run. I'll go back to here. All right. Then we talked a little bit about Old Spice's entertainment content pillar. So this helps them build brand loyalty and recall. It's a key differentiator for them. Um, that Smell Like a Man, that was a big campaign for them. Again, this is kind of on that advertisement role, but it is entertaining. We can probably think of a number of examples of entertaining content. I put this in here because I thought it was hilarious. Um, this is the this is that old "I'm on a horse" commercial, but now they're using AI to show it again, um, and creating some entertaining, interesting content. And then people start commenting here, and they go, um, like I love this, and oh, and some people hate AI. So even if it's that's another thing is that we've got AI coming in here, and some people are very against it. But I was listening to Gary Vee the other day. He thinks that there's going to be a huge surge of AI. So I would say get yourself, get other people in front of the camera because AI cannot be you as of right now. Anyways, so here's some content pillars. Um, this is some ideas. So if your goal is visibility and exposure, you might have those quick hacks, educational carousels, inspirational photography. If you're looking at engagement, that video got a lot of engagement from people because they're like, oh, AI, that's interesting, crazy. I know this commercial, hilarious. Um, Building trust behind the scenes, personal stories, video content, connection, failure stories. That's something to think about. How you started, introducing your team, your why. The social proof. This is your client success stories, testimonials and reviews, education, facts of the week, infographics. I like doing carousels for education sometimes. And then sales and leads. So what's new? Tell us what's new, what's in the shop. Do you have a promo? Um, Maybe there's a downloadable product that you can give. Oh, I love this comment from Feria. I'm sorry if I said your name wrong. She says, I struggle with too many cooks in the kitchen. The executive team seem to have their own opinion on the strategy that I propose. They often change their decisions, and we end up going back and forth and often deleting posts after there's been an interaction on it. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that that's happening with right now. Um, so yes, I have very many thoughts on this. I think, yeah, yes, Krista, lots to unpack there. Yeah, yeah. If we want this to be a 3 hour thing, then I can talk about that a lot. But here's what I would say. I think that there's a little bit of a management issue there. I think that you need maybe with the executive team, I would chat to them and just say, hi, I appreciate all the input. But I think we need to find that source of truth. So when we talk about strategy, that becomes your single source of truth. Um, there are a million ways to do everything. So, like I said, you could do all of these things. You could do all these things. You could do none of those things. Um, but you have to decide what the roadmap is before you create the content. And so, if you so what I would say is that I would create your objective. So I would say, here's my objective. And actually I have a workbook that I'll give all of you. There's a QR code on this presentation where you can download a social strategy toolkit. It's either a PDF or in Canva, but it will give you the tool to create a report. Um, you can, it's great. It's a great work book for yourself, but it's also a great way to take to your executive. There you go. Thank you. Thanks for throwing that in our our thing. But if you but ultimately, you want to be able to say, this is what we're trying to accomplish. And here are the things that we're doing to try and accomplish those goals. Anything else is noise. So, yes, we could do a behind the scenes and we could talk to all these different people, but if that doesn't support what we're actually trying to do here, we're not doing it. Um, and then creating those content calendars, and then I think that, and then I think just having an honest conversation with your executive and just saying who is actually approving this, and once it's approved, it's going out, and we're not changing it. Um, yeah. And quick question here: do you have any recommendations on pay per click? Um, Yes, I think you need the same strategy. It will be different. Um, oh, S&P's costs. So this would be dependent. These type of things, we might need to have an offline conversation, Judy, because it depends on your business. It depends on your it depends on what you're doing and what your goals are. And so it always comes back to your goals. With pay per click, it if your goal is lead generation, then you're going to have a very different piece of content than something that's working on your social media. When you're working with followers and trying to that organic content, that unpaid content, it can be very different from your advertising content. However, I listened to Gary Vee the other day. He said, prove out your content that is interesting on your organic place first, then you can take it to paid. Um, so prove the content on your organic social, see if it's getting traction so that you understand if it will get traction to a bigger audience. And then my last thing there is that boosting posts are very different than paying on a platform, like on an ad campaign platform. So for example, like Facebook ads is very different than boosting a Facebook post. When you boost a post, it's just showing it to people like your audience. But if you have friends, family, uncles and aunts on your, people that are just kind of surrounding your brand, but not necessarily customers, it's going to show it to more people like friends, family, uncles and aunts. So you may not want that. That may not actually be very effective. However, if you have an audience that is very active and very much your target brand, great. Boost a post, see how it does. However, when you're doing advertising, you can actually, again, look at your target market and distinguish who you're actually getting this out to. All right, I have to wrap up here pretty quick, but I did want to show you a few things. So, this is so we talked about big brands, and big brands are a little bit different because Nike's been around for a long time. Old Spice has been around for a long time. They're big brands. What we're talking about is just ourselves in our worlds here. But I do really like Sunera Madami's page. I think she does a really good job of of creating this brand online. So she is a CEO. She built and exited a $1 billion business. She's building her second business, and she's the host of CEO School podcast. So a lot of these followers are going to come from her podcast. Or people are going to find her on here, and then they're going to listen to her podcast and see what else she's about. She's ultimately here. She's gathering interest for her CEO school. That's what she's doing. So she's trying to drive women entrepreneurs into this community. So when you think about what she's trying to do, she's selling the dream. So she does these fit checks. You might be like, why is the CEO doing fit checks? That seems silly. Fit checks is like your outfit of the day. She'll do that, but she's got all these brands on, she's got these amazing things. She's really selling the dream, right? She's saying, I did it, you can do it too. Um, she's building credibility and trust. She's telling her story, showing the behind the scenes and showing that she's credible, showing that she knows what she's doing because she's trying to coach other people to do the same. And then she's fostering that connection through values. So she's really trying to create a community of women, other women entrepreneurs as well. And so she is showing up in those ways in her reels. I would say that those are three of her content pillars. Her family is also a content pillar because um, so what she's trying to show is that other women can have it all. So she's showing that she has it all. Um, oh, yeah, sorry, I went to her page. I didn't want to do that. Okay, show band, this is just another one that I wanted to show you just very quickly. This is one that I work on voluntarily in my spare time, so we aren't posting all the time. And but what I love about it is that there's quite a big following for a local marching band. They are world champions in marching band, but marching band is not a huge thing in Calgary. But it is a community. And so they are actually accessing worldwide followers, worldwide people in the marching band community simply by showing what they're up to. So, and they're connecting by going, this is horses. They also do parades with horses. So they were getting to meet the horses. So that was a little bit behind the scenes. But we'll show them in parades, we'll show them behind the scenes, and then we'll promote their upcoming events because that is the goal. The goal is to connect with people who are in the program, could be in the program, are alumni of the program, foster a little bit of that fandom, as well as promote their performances and just continue to show that credibility of this organization. And I think it's great. So I think that's a good example. I'm gonna skip through because we have to wrap up here right away. Oh, we didn't talk about hooks. This is what is not great with ChatGTP. So if you're using ChatGTP for your content, I want you to use it for your content for some of the meat of your content, but I want you to think about, but ChatGTP doesn't know how to grab attention. They don't know how to get a hook. So you want to stop the scroll, spark curiosity. We talked about this with the 2-second attention span. We talked about this with trying to build engagement, but the hook is the thing that's going to grab them. So this is either an interesting graphic or this is the first line. So keep it short, speak directly to your audience, and test different hooks, see what resonates. So I have a bunch of these here, but I also have them, I believe, in the toolkit. I can send you them if you'd like, but you know, struggling with XYZ, try this. Or you won't believe what happened when this happened, when I tried this, when I started doing that. These are great ways to build, to get people hooked in, like, oh, well, tell me. They might not even be interested in that topic, but now they need to know because they're curious. And Judy, yes, of course. So I'm not going to go through our ChatGPT caption prompt. I can send that out afterwards. But it was just taking a hook and then putting in the details of your business and your audience, and then finding out, and then ChatGPT would give you an idea of what to write here. You can use that if you like. And then engagement strategy. This is just you have to be active, respond to your comments, participate in conversations. And then if somebody creates something about your brand, post it. And oh, I love that, Melissa. Thank you. And then always look at your KPIs. So again, you've got this goal. Create a key performance indicator. What is going to show us how we're meeting the goal? And then always come back to that. Try not to get sucked into follower metrics, those type of things. We're now in the world of interest media, like we talked about before. So followers are less important because we're trying to get the interest of everyone. This is this is where you can find that social media strategy toolkit, or you can use the link that was sent in the chat. And please connect with me if you have any questions, if you have any, if you want to connect, I would love to connect with you. I am a social media butterfly. So yes, and we'll add it to the follow-up email as well. Fantastic. Great. Well, we have a few minutes for questions. Hopefully I was asking them as we were going along, but I'm going to stop the share and see if anybody has any thoughts.
It looks like we've got a hand up from Jen, so feel free to take yourself off mute.
Thank you so much. So Sarah, thank you so much for an incredible presentation. My gosh, you packed so much in there. And
Yeah.
Heather, thank you so much for facilitating this. Really, really useful. I have two questions. One is, so I'm relatively new to building my business and social media, but my strategy up until very recently had what I thought my strategy was going to be kind of business to consumer, but it looks like it's probably a better strategy to be business to business. So the first question I have is how do I kind of what kinds of things do I want to think about in adjusting my strategy? Because it seems like it needs an adjustment now. And the second thing is if you could comment on, like, I do get feedback on my post by way of kind of likes and emojis, but not comments. So how can I increase the comments to start that engagement?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, great. I think there's a couple questions in there. So, yeah, great questions. I think when you're looking at your B2B, I think that it just becomes so number what I guess what platforms are you on? And
So I would say primarily LinkedIn is the primary, especially for B2B, but I am also marginally on Instagram and Facebook.
okay. And what is your I guess what is your business?
So I'm in the social entrepreneurship space and I've created a course for parents of kids with chronic medical conditions. It's kind of a support to parents who are living through the reality of parenting those kids.
Okay. Okay. And so then your B2B would be um rather than just to the parents now you're looking at you'd be looking at other
So
parties that would talk to those parents.
yeah, so maybe like whether it would be looking at trying to get partnerships with hospitals to do licensing agreements or corporations to subsidize a portion of the course as part of their outreach and community engagement.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that okay. So I guess what when we talk about the social media, are you looking at trying to get more leads in those hospitals or create those partnerships with the hospitals?
Well, I'm so early at this point that I'm just trying to kind of get out there and meet people and learn who's out there and who's in these spaces. I really say, and then yes, it will be to kind of start to have those conversations.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So what I'm thinking is that it sounds like you're doing good things, even if you're getting those emojis and it seems like you have some interaction there. I think that what I would do when I'm be creating your strategy, I would look at specifically now, how do I want to show up in front of those hospitals and in front of those people that I want to partner with? So I might be less speaking to parents like, hi, parents, this is what you do. I would be more saying, like, this is the type of programming that I'm offering, or here's success stories of how I've helped people in these scenarios. I would show maybe like it's that show don't tell piece of like I am an expert here and this is how I'm showing up. Those articles are a great way too to again show that thought leadership. But then I would show up. So this becomes a more of a marketing strategy, but I would show up at events that you would know that they might be there and talk about the things that they're talking about and tag them in them. So then you start to create like almost so my thought there is like creating authority, building trust are going to be the things that you really want to showcase in your social media. But then it's like, I'm a natural fit. I'm a natural fit in your world. So whatever you're talking about, I'm talking about. And whatever articles if they're pushing out content, I would be commenting on their content and I would be creating content that is similar to theirs or references theirs so that they know that you're part of that world or that you like it's kind of like here's their content, yes, and here's my content to support. so that you create that natural, like it becomes like it all comes down from like, here's what I want to accomplish. Because otherwise, you could do a million other things. You could be like, here's the tips, here's authority, here's the show don't tell, here's, you know what I mean? Here's behind the scenes. You could do all these things, but it's like, what do you actually want to do? You want to show these groups that you're going to event, like that you're connected with them. Yeah. Great. Thank you. Heather, I see another hand, but I'm going to defer to you.
Yeah, maybe if we have, I know we are just running over here now, so I want to be mindful of everyone's time. Maybe we can have Vivian and Sarah connect offline. We'll
Yeah.
have all of Sarah's contact info and website and everything up on our follow-up email that everyone will see with the recording, that link to Sarah's free social media toolkit. And all of that good stuff you should receive before end of day today. So we just want to thank you, Sarah, so much for presenting today. So many good, useful, quick tips that we can start implementing in our own social media strategies immediately. So really appreciate all of the info that you had to share today.
Thank you for having me, and thank you everyone for interacting and your questions. It was fantastic.
Yeah, and then just before we wrap up, I want to invite all of you to our next Strike Up Connect session. So it's something a little bit different and a lot of fun. So on Thursday, July 24th at 12 p.m. Eastern, we're hosting a virtual summer social using an interactive connection game called Cozy Juicy Real. So it's all about real conversation, community, and taking a break to connect in a meaningful way. So it's a game-based networking opportunity. So really cool. Would love to see you there. We'll add the registration link in the follow-up email that you'll receive. Hope to see you there. So until then, may your content be clear, your calls to action strong, and your community growing. We hope you have a great day. Thanks so much for joining us. Bye, everyone.